Hey guys, happy May the 4th! We have a very special Star Wars episode for you today. Chris Daniels from the website, who's currently in England, has managed to score a couple of interviews. One with Tim Rose, who plays Admiral Ackbar, another with Hugh Spight, who is a Gamorean guard, both in Return of the Jedi. And on our website you can find a written interview with Jeremy Bullock, who played Boba Fett. We hope you enjoy, and may the 4th be with you.
So I'm here with Tim Rose, none other than Admiral Ackbar from the Star Wars franchise. Obviously your filmography spans so much more than that though. Dark Crystal, and the Muppets, Doctor Who. We're going back to Star Wars. I hear that you had an on-set experience with Harrison Ford.
Salacious Crumb said something on set that upset Harrison. It was a day when Harrison was being unfrozen from out of the carbon.
Okay.
Now it was a very important shot because at this point nobody, certainly in the audience watching the show, knew whether Harrison survived being frozen in the carbon or not.
Yep.
I personally think it had much to do with, depending on how much money Harrison asked for to do the next movie, he would have either remained frozen or gotten unfrozen.
Right.
So obviously he was okay there. There was a lot of tension on set that day. It took forever to actually do the first take. So we did the first take of the shot. Harrison slides out of the carbon, Carrie runs in, plants a big kiss on him, curtain opens, and Job and all his cronies are sitting there, and we go, "We saw you kissing, we saw you kissing." And we did it rather loudly because we'd waited 4 hours to do our piece. Harrison went to the director and he said, "Excuse me, but are these puppet characters going to make all that noise over my line because I don't want to have to come back and do ADR, I don't have to re-record my dialogue?" So the director said, "Quite right," and he came over and said, "Okay, you guys, I loved what you did. On the next take, do it in mine, don't make any noise." They said, "Okay, yeah, we can do that." So take 2, slides out, Carrie kisses him, curtains open, and we go. Did it the way we were asked to. And then while we were putting Harrison back in the carbon for take 3, the director came down and sat next to Salacious. And he used to talk to the puppet all the time because he liked how cheeky the character was, you know. And I thought I was just talking to Richard up through the floor, but I didn't realize that the sound guy had gone for a cup of tea, and in case I needed to say anything important, he'd turn the volume up on the microphone, which went out to the floor speakers. So thinking I'm just talking to the director, Salacious looks up at him and says, he gets asked what I thought of the last shot. And Salacious goes, "Yeah, the shot was all right, but this Harrison geezer, is he going to talk during our laugh? Because it's really putting me off." The crew heard that, and they found it very funny and started laughing, and that embarrassed Harrison, who then went to his dressing room and said he was not coming back until the bleepity-bleep who had said that was fired from the production. So I had the AD come down under the set to tell me that I was fired, but when I asked him who was taking my place, because we were still filming, it was the beginning of the day and we had a whole day to finish filming, he just looked around and he said, "Well, you are, but if anybody asks you, you have to tell them you're the new guy." And on the call sheets, it just said Salacious Crumb, the new guy, for the whole rest of the time Salacious was on set. So we kept Harrison happy, and I got to stay working as well.
So you got paid for it, so why not? Yeah.
It's a trap!
Was that the script original?
Yeah, no, that was in the script originally, yes.
Because it's just become such an iconic line. You know, it just doesn't seem like something that would be originally in a Star Wars script.
Oh yeah, no, we had that line, a whole lot of other lines you never saw. We shoot loads of things, and then by the time they finish editing and make the movie the right length, you have to see how much of it's left and how much of it isn't. You know, the shot that I'm actually personally the most proud of that wasn't in the script was the very last moment that you see Ackbar in that movie. The war is over, and he is turned, still looking out the window, and you just see him sort of slumped down in the seat. And what Richard asked me to do, he came in, he said, "Right, this isn't in the script, but I'm just going around and I'm just shooting clips of everybody. We've won the battle, the Death Star's been destroyed, and I want you to jump up and run around and say, hurrah, and all that." Now, I'm so old that I nearly got drafted into the Vietnam War when I was a kid.
Oh, good.
So the whole thing about the war was very nervous making for me and everything, and I didn't like the idea of jumping up and celebrating war even if we won it. So when they turned over the camera, I thought about all the people, even on the Death Star, who were only following orders, and they were doing it because they had to pay for their kids to go to university or whatever, you know. And on both sides of people who didn't come back to celebrate. And so I slumped down in the seat. He came over, he was very angry at me. I told you to jump up and jump around, and I said, you got the performance I'll do. If you want somebody to jump around, you better put somebody else in the suit. And instead of reshooting it, they left that bit in the movie, and I'm very proud of the fact that they left that bit in the movie. Because it was the weight of all those people who didn't make it back that I was thinking about at the time. I know, a bit heavy for a Star Wars film, but there you go.
Does that get a bit dark for you? You can't talk about Star Wars 8 at all, and I'm not going to ask you anything about Star Wars 8, but where do you want to see the franchise go from here?
Well, just better and better. I'm very happy as an animatronics designer.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that they're using so many more real characters instead of just doing it all by computer.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's very fun to be a part of that and working with all that, because that's what I love doing. So.
Definitely, absolutely. And just quickly, aside from Star Wars and your work on Doctor Who and all those amazing franchises, if there was one character that you could pin it down to, what would your favourite be? Of your creations?
The one that I'm the proudest of was actually Howard the Duck. It's a very flawed piece, but Howard was the leading man in that movie.
Yeah.
And he was a puppet. So just as animatronics in movies, nobody had ever tried to do something that difficult before. And there's a lot of problems. I'll be the first to admit that that film had a lot of problems, but when I watch it back and see that we kept the duck alive for every single shot, every single edit all the way through the movie, and this was done in the days before there was computers to just fix it all in post. We had to do it on the day in the camera, and I'm very proud of what we managed to achieve with that character.
Hugh Spight, none other than the Gamorean Guard, and also the Chamberlain's Guesses from
Dark Crystal.
Yes.
Yep.
So tell me, where did it all begin for you?
There was an audition for Dark Crystal advertised in the Stage, which is the British sort of paper for the theatre. And they wanted dancers, acrobats, gymnasts, circus performers. So for a forthcoming feature film with the Henson organisation, I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. So I was a trained dancer. So I went up for it and I got the audition. And not only that, we were just starting to film the Star Wars Return of the Jedi, because Lucas had built the biggest indoor stage in Europe at Elstree.
Okay.
And they came over and said, would any of you like to come over and do some body puppetry, you know, well, it was called Revenge of the Jedi. Not Return of the Jedi, that was the original title. And I happened to have a sweatshirt from a crew shirt, you know, from the film, and it actually says Revenge of the Jedi, and I've been told that might be worth a bob or two.
Yeah, but the thing is, what you were telling me is, didn't you use it for painting?
Yes. Yes, it's got a couple of dabs of paint, you know, it could have come off the set, but, you know, anyway, so I thought maybe
when you're relisting it, when you're putting it on eBay or when you're, you know, selling it or something, just say, yeah, it's original.
Yeah, yes, a bit of set paint work on that, yes.
And the price will just amp up straight away. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. First I have to find it. I'm loath to admit that I actually don't know what it is. I've got it at home somewhere in a plastic bag, but I haven't seen it for a while.
So, in terms of the Gamorean Guard, what was the costume process like that?
Well, actually, it was a very comfortable costume. We had extending arms, so basically your hand took another grip which extended the hand about that much.
Yep.
Because if you look, to the proportion to the body, they're much longer, like an ape in that sense. Basically, we would rehearse without the head, without the hands, and then when we were going to go for a take, they said, right, hands on, heads on, and then we would go in, maybe do 2 or 3 takes, and then back off again. You're always very well looked after when it comes to body puppetry, because if they exhaust you, then they can't shoot, so they have to look after you and keep everybody fresh and and lively. And so we were very well looked after, to be honest.
Well, you were looked after in that sense, but you were credited wrong, weren't you?
Well, yeah, that's a funny thing. Yeah, when I went to the cinema to see the film when it had been released, and of course you're watching the credits go up for your name. Instead of Hugh Spight, they put Hugh Spirit. So I went, well, there's fame out of the window. After that, I actually went to live abroad for about 15 years, and I came back to this country 10 years ago. I didn't do anything with Star Wars. I knew the signing thing was there somehow, but I never bothered with it at all. And then a fan of Star Wars had met Simon Williamson, who was also a Gamorean guard, and they said, who's this Hugh Spirit guy? We cannot find him anywhere. And he said, well, no, his name is Hugh Spight, it's not Hugh Spirit. And that chap traced me through the electoral roll and got in contact with me, and and asked if he could meet me. And he opened up this whole thing to me.
You've been doing this for like a year and a bit now?
Just over a year.
Yeah, okay.
So it's exciting because as a dancer, you're as good as your last audition. There's no golden handshake. There's no pension, there's nothing. So I'm looking at this and saying, well, it's payback time.
Yeah, definitely.
And it thrills me to bits. I meet a lot of very interesting people, get about, I'm paid to do this. Yeah. My expenses are paid. So it's opened up a whole new world to me, and I love every minute of it.
On the other side note, you were a Dalek operator through the Sylvester McCoy series.
Yes, yes. I was the Black Dalek in remembrance of the Daleks.
What's the process behind that?
Well, I was actually at the BBC doing another production, and I actually started after the Star Wars and the Dark Crystal. I started my own special effects company called Animatronics Limited, and I would build things for commercial and television productions. And I did something at the BBC called Tripods.
Okay.
And I built them and performed the characters. It's another science fiction thing. And then they asked me whether I would be interested in coming on to Doctor Who, because they were reviving the Daleks, who hadn't been seen for quite some time. They got the original Dalek performers, who were by that time in their 70s. I was a bit younger, so I took part in it. But I was seriously disappointed, because I thought you see these things sort of swanning around, and I thought this is going to be so sophisticated, and it's literally you just got in there and picked up your Dalek and sort of tried to move without wobbling. So there was nothing electronic or anything about it. Where today I've seen some Daleks that are just amazing. They're all completely, you sit in there just with a little joystick and it's doing everything you want.
I mean, like what we've seen out there. Like,
yeah,
totally. Daleks walking around the show.
Totally mechanized. Yeah. Well, literally, we had to pick them up and practically push them. So it was very hard to control it. Very hard. So, but it was, a bit of a struggle.
So it's 40 years of Star Wars. Where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? Well, I actually heard today, believe it or not, no, last night I heard that they're making another Dark Crystal.
Huh?
Yep. In America, they're already in pre-production in America with it. So I am certainly going to make contact and see if I could possibly be part of the new production. I don't know anything about it, but just see if I could get involved with it again, which would be really absolutely exciting.
That'd be brilliant, yes. Yeah. I mean, it would be brilliant to have you in Australia very, very soon, you know?
Great, I'd love to go down there. Never been to that part of the world.
Supernova, Oz Comic Con, who knows?
Absolutely.
It's all
It'd be
possible.
good fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, well, thanks so much.
Well, lovely. Thank you.
Happy Star Wars Day.
Bless you.